So I got it going, and you're not going to want to leave it on this tripod. You're going to want to like that, right? But I'll just leave it like this until you're ready.
Is it fine to sit here?
Yes.
And would you mind if we turned the fan off just for the sake of the recording? Because it's
Okay.
rather clicky, and maybe that one will carry over here.
Oh, wait a second, just.
Thank you. That'd be perfect.
So, my name is Matt Latham, and I'll take pictures if it's okay with you. And Blake will just be the one interviewing you.
Okay.
So did you but I know it was Maya who you spoke with on the phone.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you feel like you had a sense of what this class is that we're doing, what this project is? I guess we kind of touched on it. I'm wondering.
All I know is it's about the history of the neighborhood, or what's
Yeah,
happening
We'll
there.
go over it a little bit.
Yeah, great. Okay.
So
well,
which
Blake,
share
thanks.
would you like? This one?
I may not be sitting.
You may
I may
not
be
be
walking around taking pictures. I hope it doesn't make you uncomfortable. Just
That's
don't
all right.
mind mind me. I'm just a background factor.
Okay.
While you guys are talking to each other.
Okay.
Just keep these ready.
But it's really nice to meet you, and thanks for letting us into your home.
Well, we've accomplished a lot in this neighborhood. I'm proud of the accomplishments. So,
Oh, yeah, that's. I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't know
we're-
what you're going to do with this information.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll jump into that. I'm just gonna keep this down here, kind of out of sight. We're gonna, first of all, thank you for having us and being welcoming and taking the time to do this with us. We're gonna first go over some biographical information, and then about your home, and then more about your involvement within the community and the neighborhood as a whole. So it'll branch off of your personal story into a wider story. And what we're doing from that is assessing the neighborhood and trying to get a feel for what it's like for residents and what the neighborhood, like the benefits of living here, or, you know, even investing, just like coming to eat here or playing in the park, whatever it may be. And then, you know, some drawbacks, and maybe something's missing, or maybe you as a resident would like to see something else happen. So that will be, you know, kind of the plan of how this plays out. And then anything personally you want to add would be great, and we welcome it. There aren't going to be very strict questions. There's no right answer. Just say whatever you think is, whatever you feel.
Okay.
But we do need to sign consent forms, and we would like to do that at the beginning, which Matt has. If you don't mind doing that right now.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we just need to make sure we don't forget. So there's that, and oh, great. Let's see, what does this one cover? This one is okay. So basically, just understanding what this is and your willingness to help us with it, and then I think it talks about the fact that this ends up becoming a thing that goes on our website. So it would be public, but you also have the opportunity to let us know if anything we talk about today you decide you don't want included.
Okay.
So I think I think that's gonna be on the other. Oh yeah, there's a place right here where later you could write in anything that you decided you don't want included, and our professor's going to see that. So
Okay.
you're not like going to be held to anything that you change your mind about.
Printed name. Signature.
Okay,
this
and
one as
then
well.
this one, it turns out there just needs to be a separate form that says specifically that photographs we take or that you give us or what you say in the interview are things that you're willingly letting us use.
Okay.
Just, these formalities.
Okay, I think somebody else's name goes here. I interviewed.
Mine. Okay.
I need to turn my phone off.
Yeah, great. We had to remember to turn ours off.
Because sometimes it rains a lot.
Really? I kind of like being busy myself.
I like being busy, but it's getting overwhelming.
Yeah. Sometimes you just feel like a rest, right?
Printed name.
Great. Thank you. And slide these back. Okay, well, I'm going to start from the beginning. So if you could tell me a little bit about your upbringing, where you were born, your parents, anywhere you want to begin in there.
Okay. Well, back in 1995, the house at the corner of 41st and Garfield, 2204, was donated to the nonprofit organization Miracles Institute that I was one of the founders way back in 1988. And so some people on the board of directors did not think it was a good idea to accept the house and to do something here in this neighborhood, because it was a rundown neighborhood and, well, there was crime in the area, and, well, the type of people that we wanted to help was basically guys coming out of drug and alcohol recovery, and they needed a safe place to live. So I had been teaching at Matt Talbot Lodge at the time, 27th and North, and I know there was a need for safe housing. And so the one dissenting vote to not take the house was overruled, and the rest of us agreed to accept the house. And of course it was run down. It had been inhabited by people, but it was not, I will call it substandard living conditions. And so with the help of friends and people from Unity Church, we rehabbed the house. And that was in 1995. And there were some ups and downs in the beginning, but over the years, I weathered the storms, and I'll have to say that it was prayer that how we found solutions to the problems that we faced and could continue on. And then over the years, this house here at 2214, well, it was a drug house. And I observed the activity, informed the police department, and, well, things changed. But it still was a party house, a trash house. My tenants over at 2204 were complaining of what was going on here, the late night parties and noise, and of course a lot of trash was left in the yards. It was not a pretty neighborhood. So I had said if I could ever get this house cheap, I'd buy it and fix it up. And that was about 5.5 years ago, after the initial sale price of $78,000, and then 2 years later another selling price of $98,000. I wasn't going to spend that kind of money on this old rundown house. But then it went into foreclosure and got boarded up, and so I got it for $37,500. With a first-time homebuyers grant. So that was 5.5 years ago, I believe. And then in regards to living here, that was a little bit scary because this neighborhood still was not a pretty place to live. And I was used to living in the country or in the suburbs, and I originally came from north central Wisconsin. And I've always lived in nice places with nice yards. And so the decision to move here was a little bit of a culture shock. I faced some opposition from some of the kids in the neighborhood. I did have some rocks or bricks through the windows in the first year or so, and even stones thrown at my car. The question was, what are you doing on our street? I said, I pay taxes here. But things have changed over the years. So first of all, I rehabbed the first floor, new kitchens, new bathrooms, and made it livable for me. Then rehabbing the upstairs, and I've done most of the painting on the walls. I've done all the woodwork. I have laid carpet. I've laid kitchen tile. We put it's a new kitchen up here. The bathroom had been redone. Some of the carpet is older, but some of the rooms have new carpeting. So that was a lot of work that I put into this physically. I hired a contractor to put in the new kitchens, bathrooms, and the first part of the siding project was done by that contractor. And later on, as we had more guys living here that needed work, I put them to work finishing the job and painting porches and so forth. So this house I've had 5.5 years. I don't regret moving here, and I've been given some credit for actually starting the rehab of this block. So Miracle House on the corner, 2204, I've had that since 1995. And so I commuted into the city for my work here in the city, and I decided I wanted to live in the city and end that commute. So I don't regret moving here. But the rehab of the house also included landscaping the yard. I plant flowers, I planted shrubs. We have wood chips around the borders, and we do have above ground gardens also. So then, after I was here a couple of years, there was quite a few boarded up foreclosure houses in this block. And I met with Alderman Willie Hines and some pastors, local pastors of churches, and I said, somebody should do something. Well, they kind of left it up to me. So there was a house just up the street at 2220 North 41st Street. That was my first target area. There was some exterior work done, and I made an appointment to look at the house. Of course, for me, the house has to meet my expectations of how it should look. Anyway, it was worth about $100,000 on the market for $50,000. I offered $10,000. They came back at $40,000. Well, I couldn't come up with $40,000. Well, then it was the year of the flood, and at the same time, a new realtor had gotten that property, and there was a sign outside. The new realtor's phone number. So I decided to call that realtor for two reasons. I wanted to see what his price was, and secondly, because of the flooding, although this particular area may have had a little water in the basement, the basements weren't flooded. And because there were new furnaces in that house, I was curious as to just what the condition of the basement was. Well, in that appointment with that new realtor, I was told that the new price was $18,900. I didn't sleep that night. I called my banker in the morning, and I had enough home equity line of credit on this house to buy that house. And I'd also, in that appointment with the realtor, checked out the basement, and of course there had been just a little water that had come in and gone out, and the new furnaces are set up on bricks, so there was no damage to the furnaces. So I made the offer to purchase, signed the papers, and all in a day, and got the key, all in 24 hours. And that night I didn't sleep. I was already figuring in my head, just what I was going to do to rehab the house. So I hired a man who had just gotten out of prison to work part-time in putting in a new kitchen, fixing the bathrooms. It is a duplex with 3 bedrooms up and down, living room, dining room, and there's the original woodwork in the living room and dining room. It's beautiful. I painted all the woodwork in the bedrooms. The interior had been painted, but the woodwork was kind of splattered with paint. So it took 1 month to do the first floor, and we had tenants waiting to move in. And so I rent to adult men, and most of them are either on disability or low-income wage earners, and they're not able to afford their own apartments. So however many bedrooms we have in the apartment, everybody has their own bedroom, and the adult men share the apartment. And they each pay their own fee to rent. So then on that house, it took 6 more weeks to do the second floor. We had to rip out all the carpeting. It was horribly stained. Put new carpeting in. And of course there were tenants waiting to take those rooms. I start these houses, like the 2220 house, all on credit. A Menards credit card and another credit card that I buy other things that are not at Menards. But I also furnish the houses. And so people donate furniture and furnishings. So almost everything in that house was donated or furnished. I did have to, purchase things at Menards and get the new kitchen cupboards, and so it turned out looking very nice. I'm very proud of how it has turned out. And last year we started the siding project. The old siding on the house was gray and ugly green, and so we've put on vinyl siding. We have 3 sides done. We repaired the upper front porch and the upper back porch, and all that work was done by men who are living here, who either do not have outside jobs. So I had like at least 2 or 3 guys that their work was here in fixing up, making improvements, taking care of the yard work, shoveling snow in wintertime. So that work was done all by our guys. So the house is looking very nice. And in the meantime, Habitat for Humanity started building houses on this block. And the house between 2214 and 2204 was vacant for a number of years, and I wanted to buy the lot to build a garage on it, but the city wouldn't sell it unless I'd build a house. Well, I couldn't afford to build a house, so I built the garage on the lot in back of Miracle House, which was a separate lot at one time with a house on it, which had been torn down. Got the lot for $1 and the $12 filing fee. So anyway, that lot next door was all garden boxes. We had 11 boxes down the middle of that lot. It was our picnic space for our picnics that we have between our houses. So when Habitat bought the lot, we had to move all our garden boxes and wheelbarrow the dirt to where we relocated them. So we have 3 boxes by the garage back of Miracle House at 2204. I have 5 in my backyard, and then there's 3 behind the 2220 house. So every year we have gardens with fresh vegetables. This year I did all the planting. One guy did all the ground preparation, and I planted, and so then each house has to take care of their boxes and weed it or hoe it and take care of the produce when it's available. Then the next house. 2 years ago, there was a house up the street on 41st Street that had been vacant for at least a year or 2. It was boarded up. And when I first called about it, I think the price was around 30-some thousand, and that was still a little out of my credit range. And it was appraised at $16,500, so I offered $16,500. But there's an investor who had put money into it to buy out the mortgage. I forget what his rock bottom price was, if it was $40,000, I believe, and again, that was out of our credit range to buy. And so the house still remains there, vacant, boarded up, and being vandalized. It is the last eyesore in the block. But in that year that we were trying to get that house, people had been donating furniture and furnishings. So first, one of our tenants, his mother passed away, so we got what was in her little apartment. And then a man I worked for in home care went to assisted living, so we got the remnants of his estate sale. A lady from church was moving and had to downsize, so we got a van load and a car load out of her apartment. And then there was a house that was vacated either through eviction or something, and one of our guys had the job of cleaning out the house, so we got 2 van loads and 2 car loads out of that house. And by that time, I couldn't put my car in the garage anymore. Our garage was filled to the rafters with stuff for another house. So then came the middle of December of that year, and that's like, it'll be almost 2 years ago, coming up December of 14, so that we're talking now the fall and winter of 2012. I still didn't have a house to put all that stuff in. Then a house came up for sale on Garfield, right around the corner from 41st here. And that house, 4229 West Garfield, I called for the appointment, went to look at it. It was on the market for, I believe, 14,000 something, 5 or 9. But it had no furnace, no water heater. A lot of the plumbing had been stripped. The bathroom vanity and sink was gone. And each room was painted a very dark, ugly color. The kitchen was a very dark green with black trim and black tile on the floor. Half of it was missing or broken. So I made the offer to purchase, and I said I wanted to close before the end of the year. And the realtor said, well, that's kind of impossible with the holidays and everything. We closed December 28th. And the furnace was put in on January 3rd. And our head handyman started staying overnight at that house so nobody'd come in and steal the furnace. And we waited a day for the house to warm up, and then all the men who were living here that were not working or owed us some work hours or money were down there cleaning, painting, doing some plumbing repairs. So it was a big effort on a lot of our guys to get this house up and going. In 12 days, we had the first tenant in there, in the first floor. So one by one, as each bedroom was painted and furnished, there was someone waiting to take that room. And I'll add that since parole officers have had my phone number, we rarely have an empty room. And so that's another part of our story. When guys get out of prison, or even the county jail, finding housing is difficult. First of all, they don't have a credit reference, they don't have a rent history, and they may have a job if they've been in work release or they've been waiting for Social Security to kick in. So we take the chance with these ex-offenders, giving them a chance at living here. I will add that the 2 main rules of living here is, first of all, no use of alcohol and no illegal drug use. Since our first house, Miracle House, started in 1995 for guys in recovery, those have been the main rules. And of course, we expect them to keep the premises clean inside and out. But so all the houses are formed under that same the rules. nobody here is allowed to be using alcohol or illegal drugs. If they do, we give them the option. You either go into treatment or you move on. And once in a while, we've had to have somebody move on. Once in a while, somebody goes to treatment. But for the most part, our tenants are doing very well. We have an excellent record with both the parole officers, and there's a community organization called WCS, Wisconsin Community Service. They provide services for people on disability, such as managing their meds and managing their disability money. We are told that our houses are the cleanest and nicest of any that they go in, and so they're always anxious to put their clients in our houses. And because our clients are surrounded by others who are remaining free of alcohol use or illegal drug use, it's easier for these guys to follow the program. Once in a while, there's one who does not want to follow the program. And I have the saying, if you want to continue with your old habits, do it somewhere else. But people come here to start a new life. If you want to live like a pig, you can do it somewhere else, but you're not going to do it in my house. As you can see, it's comfortable, it's attractive, it's clean. And if any of the houses are not kept up, and I do get in and out of them on a regular basis, I can say, all right, guys, it's time to clean up this mess. And sometimes I'll, pitch in and help or do something, but get this all cleaned up and get the floor scrubbed. This is not the way it was when you moved in. And they get at it and do it. So some of them perhaps have never lived in clean and orderly environments, so having that responsibility is part of their learning skills here. And also on the outside, keeping litter cleaned up, that's also part of it. Actually, one guy, his job is you make the rounds to all the properties every day and make sure that there's no litter, because we want our yards to be clean. So a couple years ago, when the Habitat houses were built, there's one between Miracle House and this address at 2214. 3 more were built up the street here on 3 vacant lots. Of course, I like green space. I'm a country girl. I like grass and trees, so it was nice to have green space. But since we're surrounded by new homes that are landscaped nicely, that's a plus for the neighborhood, and I guess a plus for the tax base as well. And then a year or so ago, houses across the street, I believe there's 3 Habitat houses were built. Now this year, Gorman Company is rehabbing one right behind me and one up the street on 41st yet. And they tore down a house behind me, that would be on 40th Street, and are putting up a new house. So again, there's major improvements going on this block. It's really looking good. Now, as far as noise and crime goes, this block is, I'd say, pretty quiet. I'm not observing, we'll call it illegal activities, and not saying there isn't any that's going on. The noise is there's no problem with loud music late at night or racing cars. It's a pretty quiet block. To the south on 41st, I call that the war zone. There's still work to be done down there. And I have been attending the Washington Park Partners meetings in the last about a year and a half. And they tell us that we are a unique model. Nobody is doing what we're doing. We fix up an old house basically on my credit. We put people in these houses that will be law-abiding citizens. It's not that we're renting to people that, well, they come in and make a mess of the house, the yard, or continue or do any illegal activity. They become good tenants, and they're an asset to the neighborhood. Now, our neighbor next door to the north of this house, she and her son have lived here like 40 some years, and they saw the neighborhood go down and get into deep trouble and had considered moving. They are glad that we are here. We are good neighbors to them, and since our tenants are here over a long period of time, it's like they get to know our guys and trust them and feel safe being surrounded by good people. So that's another asset that we bring to the neighborhood. So let's see, what else is there that I can tell you? Oh, we have a new project. I have outgrown my little home office downstairs and in desperate need of an assistant or a secretary. Now, Mike, who's my head handyman, he has been extremely helpful, and I couldn't be running these 4 houses without his help with, dealing with tenants and rent and maintenance and so forth. Since he's been here 3 years, he's full-time maintenance man. And in discussion with him on any of our improvements, we pretty much see eye to eye on improvements to make and how it's to be done, and so that's an asset as well. So in my running out of office space and needing an assistant, I started looking this year for office space in the neighborhood, looking at boarded up buildings that could be offices. Well, one down on 39th and North, Emerald's Hall, was too big for us, and the apartments upstairs were so vandalized, as well as electrical and furnaces on the first floor. I mean, the vandalism of the electrical alone, they estimated, would take $50,000 to $100,000 to replace, plus holes in the walls, and these were nicely remodeled apartments. Just, it's a shame how they're trashed to get the wiring out, and it's a shame. So that was too big and not something we could undertake. Then I looked at a building at 40th and Lisbon, which had been a little convenience store and at one time a little bank right across from the park. And that would have suited our needs perfectly for office space. We could divide off the big room into 2 offices, still have a meeting room and a little kitchenette. But that was way out of our price range. Even though the man would take a land contract, upwards of $80,000 to $100,000, that's just not something we have the finances for. So at the same time, Mike found on the internet this apartment building at 4409 West Lisbon. And it was on the market for $30,000. The bank was taking a major loss at that price. It had been vacant for a couple years, vandalized. All the sinks were gone, and well, there was two one-room efficiencies that I could use, like for office space, and then 2 one-bedroom apartments on the first floor and 4 one-bedroom apartments on the second floor. On the market for 30, I offered 20, and the bank took it. So we signed the papers on that on May 14th. And we spent a day of just cleaning out the trash. We have started the painting. We have an electrical contractor, and I think the work is starting today. We're still looking for a plumbing contractor. There is a new boiler system, new boilers for each apartment, but all the radiators are gone. So we did find a contractor that would work with us at a reasonable price to replace a new kind of radiator and test the system and hook up all the pipes. He was in some kind of accident the day before we were ready to begin, so that's a delay, but I guess he'll be back on board by the end of the month. So we're still looking for a plumbing contractor. It's a bigger job than we have ever taken on. It's a commercial building. It's bigger in size. It will be more costly to get up and running, and of course take a little more time. You know, we've had it a month already. We're not ready for tenants. That apartment building, I am told, was once a haven of drug activity and prostitution. And actually, one of our tenants that lives in one of our houses used to live there. And he had stated, you know, what it once was, and we've heard this from others as well. And his prediction was, it'll always be the same. He was riding in the car with me at the time, and I pulled over to the curb and I said, my house was a drug house. Is it a drug house now? No. I said, the house you live in was a drug house. Is it a drug house now? No. I said, then why are you predicting that our next project is going to be what it was in the past? So I checked him on his thinking, because part of my work with any of our tenants is with positive thinking, and I call it miracle-minded thinking. There are sometimes, and more so in the past, that we have faced problems and I pray about it, or we get together and pray, and a solution always comes. It always works out. And now with this project as well, it's bigger than we've done, more complicated, more costly. I've started an application with Legacy, and funding would be available to us when we get all our paperwork done and estimates in. So that's pending yet, but we're starting work on, you know, what we can get done on with my credit cards, Menard's card, and our volunteer workers here with our guys that need to give us some hours of work if they're behind on rent or aren't working. So it was an opportunity to put these guys to work. So the question from Legacy is, how many jobs will this provide? Well, we need 3 contractors and 3 assistants to the contractors, so that's 6. And then at least 4 more for painting, cleanup, drywall repair, things like that. I've got curtain rods purchased, and I'm already buying curtains at used, like Salvation Army and Goodwill. I'm ready to hang the curtains, but we don't have the cleanup done in the 2 front rooms that we have sort of finished. I'm anxious. I want to get it set up. North Shore Bank has offered us used office furniture. I have to check back with them. If none of their branch offices need it or want it, we get it. And already people have been offering some things. Of course, we need funding, grant money, donations, because we're set up under the nonprofit 501c3, so people can make donations. So it's a big project, that's all I can say. Is it a little scary to undertake it? Yes. But I guess it'll all work out with a lot of work. We have some people that are interested in moving in already. I would put people in here that I know are already trustworthy. Either like one of our tenants has a son and family that lives further away, and they're considering moving here, and would wait for an apartment to be ready. And there are others amongst our tenants that have shown their responsibility in the years about paying rent and behaving themselves, people that I could trust, because it's just a little further away and I might not be, although I want a live-in manager over there, not taking risks with brand new people, I'll put it that way. People that have shown that they can be trusted to do what we expect. So, I don't know what else I can tell you. We have poster boards on the three or four finished houses, some before and after pictures, and some of the people who have worked to help complete the houses, and pictures of our garden projects and landscaping. And of course, all the houses, if you look at the before and after pictures, you can see what a change. So it's a success story in this community. I'm 68 years old. I'm supposed to be retired, but for me to retire, well, it would be nice to take a vacation. I used to take vacations, get to Florida once a year, but I haven't been there for a couple of years now. Been so busy here. But to me, a new project can be energizing. I'm kind of a visionary. I see a house that's run down, and in my mind I have a plan or how I want it to look when it's done. So not only with the general fix-up and the landscaping, but with the donated items for furnishing a house, everything from curtains to furniture. I interior decorate on a shoestring budget or with donated items and make it look nice in the end. And I could write a book on decorating or furnishing a house on a shoestring budget. I enjoy doing that, and that's I guess that's my creativity. A project like this keeps my creative juices flowing, and to take something that's run down and dilapidated and an eyesore in the neighborhood, and then make it nice inside and out on a shoestring budget. That can be a challenge, but I guess that's what I'm good at, and then putting the word out that we're doing a project and letting the community respond with what our needs are. And so over the years, we've had a good response with any of our projects. And so the last house, well, even the 2220 house, almost everything was furnished. I did buy a few appliances and some twin beds. And at the Garfield house, I did buy some twin beds and a refrigerator and a dryer, but almost everything in the house was donated. So people who move here can come into an attractive and clean environment and start over. So we're providing a tremendous support system for people who need it. And so our guys living here have not committed new offenses and have been sent back to prison. Once in a while somebody's on a parole hold for some minor violation, but as of yet nobody living here has gone back, been sentenced to prison on a new offense. So considering a recidivism rate in the community, we are successful. And part of it too is the home environment or family environment. You know, a lot of the guys in each house, it's like forming a family unit. If one guy has a vehicle, he helps with transportation for the other guys, whether it's for job search or, you know, to work or shopping. And I also provide, you know, some of those services as well. And then eating together or getting together for picnics or holidays. We have a Thanksgiving dinner, we have Christmas parties, we have birthday get-togethers, Easter dinners. So some of the guys don't have families, or some of the guys don't know where families are, or their families are dysfunctional. And so providing that home and family type environment, I think, is and part of our success rate in having guys starting over and being successful at it. So do you have questions?
Sure, yeah, always.
Okay.
So as far as the new property, how big is it exactly? What is the square footage of that?
At 4409 West Lisbon, the two one-room efficiencies, the one room's bigger than this room, with a bathroom and a little kitchenette that's like a closet. So the two front rooms are that, with big closet space. And so the two other apartments on the first floor, being two-bedroom, they're sufficient in size, with a nice sized living room, a little dinette area with the kitchen. The master bedroom is a sizable one. You could put a double or queen size bed in it, where most of our other rooms in our houses will only fit a twin bed. One bedroom has a bigger bed, but you know, they're small bedrooms. But those apartments and the one bedroom ones upstairs too are have a nice size living room and a nice size bedroom, nice kitchen that all needs to be painted and fixed yet. So I don't know. Let's see. What is there a total square footage listed on this? I don't see it. But it's a big enough, full basement. There's a finished room in the basement with a fireplace that's either just an artificial or gas fireplace. So that could be fixed up as a rec room.
Do you have any families in your properties, or do you only allow the
No,
specific person?
we don't have any families at this time. At one time in Miracle House years ago, we had a family, a guy who married, and then his wife and her child moved in, and then they had a baby and moved on. That's the last we've had families.
And have you only had males, or do you have any
We
women?
have,
minors?
in the past, we've had females, and I had more trouble with females than the men.
Why is
And
that?
the females are worse housekeepers than the men. Matter of fact, there was a female up here and her disabled son, and the kitchen got kind of messy, and we cleaned it up and gave her warning about it, and it got messy again, and then she wasn't paying the rent, and so had her move on, and we did a total thorough cleaning of this apartment to get it back to where we wanted it. And so when the last two females left a year ago, it just became all men. And basically the parole officers that have my number are dealing with men. And there is a need for females, that we know. But
Are the parole officers the only people that are recommending tenants to you, or do you have
no,
other?
WCS, Wisconsin Community Service, and Project Return is another one. They provide services for guys coming out of prison, and they have referred people to us, or guys to us, over the years.
And what are you using to promote this operation?
They call us if they have someone who
So
needs it.
they're promoting it as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Let's see. Okay, back to earlier, you were speaking about when you moved here that you were a little nervous and that it took a while for you to adjust. Did anybody help you or comfort you in any way, in a neighborly way?
Well, I remember one time I was redoing the first floor apartment at Miracle House, and this goes way back, maybe 16, 17 years ago, and we had some break-ins, and whoever was doing this knew when I wasn't there, and they were stealing stuff and stealing the furniture, and so 3 break-ins in 2 weeks. There was a local pastor who offered support, but Tom Hooper from Channel 6 came out and did a story. And again, the community, the stuff that was donated was nice stuff. So we redid the whole apartment with stuff that was donated. And then I called Tom Hooper back, and I said, you gotta come and see this, nice things. And again, I like to interior decorate on, with donated things and color coordinate and so forth.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, this is Glenn, and these guys are from UWM.
Hi.
We're talking about what we're doing here. Hi, Jimmy. He also lives here. These guys are from UWM. We're talking about what we're doing here.
Hi.
So, in the beginning, some of my friends, some were helpful and supportive, but when there were problems, they would respond with, well, this is just another sign from God that you shouldn't be here. Dump that house. Let it go. Well, I'm not one to give up. And secondly, when you own property, I'm not one to walk away, So pray, find a solution, and even calling Tom Hooper was pray and somebody had told me that, call him from Channel 6 to come and do a story. So there was a lot of times that prayer was the answer, and to see what came forth, from that. But in recent years, the guys who have been here a few years have been a big support system. Like Mike, who's been here 3 years. I think Rodney has been here 4 or 5, and well, his mom had passed away, so we were a support system for him. So, we're like a big family here, especially amongst the guys who've been here a few years. Some who have either lost their mothers or don't know where their mothers are. Their mothers have been non-supportive. They adopt me as mom. I'm mom to a number of guys here. So the guys who've been here have been a big support in a lot of things that we need help with, not only work-wise, but we get together and pray about things and talk about what needs to be done or how we can work together to get the job done.
And you're leading them through prayer and teaching them these skills, preparing.
Mm-hmm. So last year when we were doing the siding at 2220, one of the guys that had lived here, he wasn't afraid of heights to get way up on the ladder in the second story area. So we called on other guys, who's not afraid of heights? So we had guys who would help with the first story levels, but who was not afraid to get up on the ladder. So there's a couple guys came forth, and they're not afraid to get up on the ladder and up to second story heights. And so they helped out and the job got done.
Could you tell some about your decision to pick specifically Washington Park neighborhood and maybe anyone else who's moving in, like say the people from out of state, was it, or further away, why they would pick specifically to come here? Is it just the opportunity, or does the area interest them?
Well, in my decision to move here, my house payment was cheaper than the rent I was paying in Wauwatosa. So why pay somebody else? So I don't regret doing that. And then the people who do decide to come here, basically they need housing. And they like what they see, and the rent is reasonable. So that's a big part of why others come here. And so this family that might come here, the dad lives here. Well, this is Mike, my head handyman.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike. I'm Matt.
Glad to meet you.
Blake Kerr.
And Mike came from Florida.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going back.
You're going back? Isn't it hot enough for you here today?
No, it's beautiful out there right now.
We got to get the air conditioner put in here. Maybe these young, strong guys can help with that. But since Mike has been here and become very helpful and leading our major projects, including this, I've talked about all the houses already, and talked about you already, and being the head handyman, and I can't run this all without you anymore. So what would you like to add? Well, why you came here? That was his question.
Why did I come here?
Why do people come here?
Well, I was down in Florida and going, okay, where am I going to go? My family was up here. And before you get out of an institution in Florida, you have to have some place to come to. And it just so happened my sister knew Greg,
Who was my head handyman from the 2220 house.
and got in touch with Joanne, and Joanne got in touch with me, and next thing I knew I was on a Greyhound heading north. So, and every time I go, why am I here?
You have stated it has given you a new purpose in life.
Yeah, I like to see the houses come back to the way they were. This apartment building is an example of that. It's a beautiful old building that's been left go. It just needs some TLC to get it back in.
And dollars.
And dollars. And did you get a phone call?
From who?
Who's the guy that brought Calvin in?
The one that brought Calvin?
Yeah, gonna spend a day or a night.
Oh, James Well?
Yes.
Yes, he called me for.
Okay,
Yeah.
he says he needs a place to.
Yes, he wants to move back. He
Yeah.
had been here and been on his own, and I know some of the story, but
Yeah, I met him down at WCS this morning,
okay.
and I told him to call you, because we're gonna have George's room, possibly.
If George leaves.
Yeah.
We have a couple of guys that have moved, let's say, to go live with girlfriends. And then it doesn't work out. And then they want to come back. Or one guy that I had asked to leave because he was kind of nagging me about stuff all the time, and then his attitude got kind of negative. And the one female that was here yet, her mental illness issues made me a demon and a
really bad person.
a really bad person. And people would always say, why don't you just leave if you have such an attitude about living here? So eventually we got her to move, but while he was here, he believed everything she said from her schizophrenic frame of mind. And he started with the same belief system towards me. So finally I just asked him to leave. You're not getting along with people. You're creating a lot of disturbance and friction. Chaos, disharmony.
And he would get
disharmony.
not only loud, but he'd get right up in your face and get, especially you, that day that he was outside here before that.
So I asked him to move, and then a year or so later, well, he's a student at MATC. He had, I guess, worn out his welcome at the guest house and Salvation Army, and going to school, you need a quiet place to study. He didn't have that at Salvation Army or the guest house. There's too many people around, and so he needed a quiet place to study. And so in January of this year, he begged to come back. And I didn't have a room available. I says, well, we have a fold-out couch in a living room. That's all I can offer you. And people were surprised that I let him come back. But what has happened since, he's learned a lot of humility about all kinds of things, whether it's managing his food stamps or getting along with people.
His one comment was, coupons are a woman's thing.
And now
Because Joanne does coupon shopping like nobody you've ever seen.
And taking guys shopping to use coupons to make their food stamps go further. So yeah, he was highly critical of that. Now he asks me, can you take me to Pick and Save and bring your coupons? And then even with not the criticism part, that doesn't exist. And other things of just not nagging me about stuff, that doesn't exist. So it was, we'll say, a risk to give him a second chance.
Well, it was an eye-opening experience for him too, to be. He
but-
burnt his bridges with family, friends,
Yes.
everybody.
So I gave him another chance, and it's working out okay.
I think we want to make sure that we ask the Reverend a little more about her life that led up to this.
Sure.
So I say that because so we don't take up too much of your time today, but we can.
Okay, two things happened. I'd had a full-time healing ministry located out in Hustisford, an hour northwest of Milwaukee. And I had started teaching at Matt Talbot Lodge, but then my 19-year-old son died accidentally. And I had a healing of the Holy Spirit, and he saw angels as a child, and in the 2 years following his death, I had communication with his angels. They became my teachers, and I recorded on tape recorder things I heard. I wrote things I heard, and I began typing. You know, it's like hearing the messages and typing what I hear. And so that was a profound spiritual experience for me. A year after my son died, my fiance of 10 years met another woman, and instead of us getting married, he ran off and married her. I was devastated, brokenhearted, and I had never thought in these 10 years we were together on our spiritual journey together that this would have happened. And so it was a time of intense prayer and inner search for me. And so one of the messages I got from the Holy Spirit was, let go of the attachment you have to the man. I will show you another way. And it wasn't immediate, but I kept, my prayer time. And when I found out he actually married her, it was like hitting the pits again. And again I prayed and I said, God, I don't ever want to feel this way again. I want to sleep tonight. I want to wake up tomorrow feeling wonderful. And that night I was awakened like I'm in the presence of God. The love was so intense, there's nothing in this world that compares to it. And that was a whole consciousness shift for me. I felt compelled to reach out to people that nobody loved. I started teaching at the county jail. And that's when Miracle House started. That was in 1995 when that happened. My son had died in 1993. And so that part of the ministry was new, although I'd been teaching at Matt Talbot Lodge. Now I'm sitting in the presence of 10 to 20 to 30 guys and having no judgment of what they've done, and to tell my story and to teach about God's love for us that will love us right where we're at and help to bring us out of it. And so that was a major change in direction of my life. And so when people come in here, giving them their second chance, I can do it without judgment. And not that I don't keep my eyes and ears open and see that the rules are followed, because in order to keep things in order, we have to have rules and have people follow the rules. So that was what led up to this. I also have a prison ministry by mail, so prisoners that I've never met, a few of them I have done pastoral visits for, but they write, and of course they're frustrated with what's going on in their lives and the prison system. And so I send material to them, and it started with guys who were in the county jail and were sent off to do their time. They wanted to continue getting the material. So that has been beneficial for them to go through a transformation just by reading the material I send or the stories I tell. And of course they always want to know what's going on here or what's going on in my life. So I at this time type up, sometimes it's a monthly letter or every couple months, type up a letter of what's going on here with rehabbing a house or people here, or what we're doing here. And so they're interested in that. And so some of them applied with parole agents to come here when they're paroled or when their time is done and they have to be released. They also might want to come here because they don't have other options. And so that's a little about what led up to this. I did write a book, all of my angel messages and the story of my healing after my son died. That's all in a book called Messages from Heaven. And of course, just this last Sunday at church, I was told by a woman whose son died of cancer some months ago. Somebody gave her the book and she said it's made a big difference. I've also given the book to a guy that was tearing down a garage across the alley some years ago when I bought this house and needed a garage. And I was checking to see if they were going to tear down the garage, which they did, so ultimately I had to build a garage. But it's a Sunday afternoon, he's drinking, and I start a conversation with him about the garage. And he says, yeah, I drink too much. My son died as a result of a drunken driver some years ago, and I've never gotten over it, and I drink too much. Why is this total stranger telling me this? And I told him, well, how I was healed after my son's death, and that God doesn't intend for us to go on hurting and then doing self-destructive things. So I said, I'm going to go home and get a copy of my book. And I wasn't living here yet, I don't think. So I was living in Wauwatosa. I went home and got a copy of my book and signed it and put my phone number in it. And a month later, so he called and he said, it's helping. It's making a difference. So strangers like that, have been helped because of what I have gone through personally. And even with dealing with things here in general, it's a lot about faith. So I have a lot of faith that people can overcome things that they're dealing with personally, but even in what we undertake or accomplish in life, a lot has to do with faith. If I didn't have faith, I would have never taken on Miracle House. I would have never thought of living in the hood or rehabbing a house, another one, or taking on these kinds of things.
Well,
A lot
actually,
has to do with faith.
I don't know if Miss Joanne told you I'm dealing with cancer right now.
No, I hadn't brought that up.
I've got esophageal cancer. Well, it's
And
actually
a
at the top
tumor
of,
in the stomach.
top of my stomach. And when they first said the C word, it was like, oh boy. Oh my God. And we talked about it, and it's like, okay. He's the only one that's going to get me through this. I mean, I trust my doctors 100%, but I don't want surgery. I want to finish off my treatments of chemo and radiation and have them go, hey, it's gone. And it's been a tough 3
Well,
months.
before you started treatment, you couldn't eat anymore for a month. He
couldn't.
was on just liquids.
Since from Thanksgiving till February, 3 months, and lost like 35 pounds, and I'm now gaining my weight back, and things are going great. But yeah, it's like, oh God, woe is me. And Joanne says, you can't die now.
I can't run this without you.
So, yeah, it's been a tough beginning of the year. And I got 4 more treatments of radiation, and I'm done with it.
And he had been eating regular meals again, up until like last week, the
Yep, the
radiation
lady
was
just-
kind of
It got to me.
got to him. But sitting down with us and eating regular meals again, meat and potatoes and gravy and
Pizzas and
pizzas.
anything I could put my mouth around.
Going out to eat again, hamburgers.
It's a. I was like, God, but yeah, it's been that. My mother passed away here 2 weeks ago, and it's like, okay, it's the one thing I said to my whole family. I said, don't tell Mom what I have. I don't want her to know. She was 96, almost 96 years old. I didn't want her worried about me. It's like, and I said, you got to be careful what you pray for, because Mom didn't know I had it, but she went away. So,
But she passed away
yes,
peacefully
in her
without
sleep.
a lot of complications.
But yeah,
Pretty
it's
gung ho
been
up
a-
until a couple months ago.
It's been a tough, and yeah, you have to have faith to get through it. You can't.
And before we took this on, I said,
We discussed.
"Are
it.
you sure
You're gonna be around.
you're going to be around, or that you can handle this? I can't do this without you. Let's go for it," he
we're
said.
Might as well. I mean, we looked at buildings that were $80,000. That would have gave us 2 offices and a meeting room, and that was it.
And Emerald's Hall, that was too big and too costly to fix.
Yeah, that was way too extravagant. I mean, they had 10 furnaces in there that were stolen. And
Stripped.
the floors were warped, the walls, I mean, it was just a disaster. And this building came up and it was like, okay, let's go for it. We can do this.
And when I say they practically give these buildings away, I paid $37,500 after that $5,000 grant I was given. Still have a little mortgage on it, but with that house being $18,900 and worth a lot more, and Garfield $14,900 and
No, that was 13.5.
$13,500, okay. And this $20,000, and the bank took a beating. And out of the $20,000 we paid, $12,000 had to be paid out for back taxes, lawyers' fees, water bills, nuisance fees. I mean, they came out with almost nothing. But we'll restore it.
It's good.
So they practically
It's
give
got
them.
all the original woodwork in it. It's just, I mean,
It has some nice features
fantastic. Textured plastered walls. I mean, this thing is just really a great building, and it's built like it should be built.
to it. So undertaking these projects when they practically give the buildings away, and putting time and effort and money into them in a cost-saving way and bring them back up to looking nice. Well, like they tell us at Washington Park Partners, nobody else is doing this. And then we put good tenants in that are going to be an asset to the neighborhood. And so I don't know why nobody else is doing it. Yes, we put a lot of work and money into it, and I'm not sitting in a rocking chair on the porch,
No, it's
which I'd be bored doing.
It's
It
a daily.
takes time and energy. So I'm looking forward to having office space, and I still need the secretary.
Yeah, and money.
And money, yes. And a plumber.
Sounds like y'all have always pulled through though. Well,
So,
you're
somewhere something comes along to
It's working out.
It always works out,
and well,
this-
actually, the guy that we had scheduled to do the heating got into an
I
accident
told
a
him.
couple of weeks ago. And I texted him. I said, "Do you know somebody else that can do it?" He says, "I'll be back at the end of June." So
well, other guys that came, one was 50,000, one was 30,000,
One was
replace everything,
48,000.
It's just way too extravagant and too complicated. The other guys seem to
and
have a reasonable plan.
so yeah, it's
So our organization, nonprofit, is called Miracles Institute. That's the way it was, founded. And so at first we were just teaching people, and we published some books on, getting your mind in the right frame of mind and believing, having faith. So when Miracle House happened and my prison ministry started, it began teaching this philosophy to people who really needed some miracles and transformation in their lives because of their behavior and choices, and to have them believe that they still had the opportunity to have a good life, a healthy life, perhaps a prosperous life, but it's a process of changing a lot of old mindsets. And then there's some guys that have been in my jail class. I do meet them in the community, Pick and Save, grocery stores, a car rental place, a Walmart parking lot. And they remember me even from 8 and 10 years ago. And I always ask the question, well, how are you doing? And they say, I'm doing great. I learned a lot from you. It changed my life. And so over the long term, I know that what I'm doing and teaching at the jail, it is making a difference in people's lives. And so I always say to them, you are going to meet people that I'll never meet. You will influence people that probably won't listen to me. I'm just a white woman from the
hood.
Suburbs. Or they think of me as the rich white woman on the block, and yet I don't consider myself rich, but I consider myself very blessed. And so in my healing ministry before I moved here, I was blessed financially as well as emotionally. And so I felt that I could teach that same philosophy to others and have people get out of where they're stuck in financially or in poverty or, drinking. Many years ago after high school and after my father died in 65, I had a drinking problem. And after making many mistakes and losing my job, my apartment, my health, and my good name, I decided I could do better than this, and it's been blessings ever since. And so I've overcome things in my life that people I talk to need to overcome, and there can be happiness and success and, not having to struggle or not being tempted. I'm never tempted to drink again. No matter what I have to deal with. Prayer is the solution.
That's great.
So that's a little about Miracles Institute and our philosophy of why we have that name.
All right. Y'all both have very difficult but hopeful stories. So.
Well, I'll tell you, her philosophy is one mind goes back to whatever the mind can conceive and believe you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing that you can't do if you put your mind to it. So.
Well, I know the two of you are very busy, as you have told us, so we will let you go back to it. And do you have anything you wanted to?
Yeah, I wonder if maybe we should just take the next few minutes to, take a look at those boards that you've got out for us. I can take pictures of them. I wonder if there's an opportunity to maybe open some drapes so I could get some better lighting on the boards, and I could photograph them in better lighting, or turn on some lights. Or
And we put the boards wherever you want them.
We got to pull the strings for the lights to go on. And, no,
This
well, turn it over there first.
Yes.
Do we need a consent form for him as well?
Mike, would you be comfortable with us also including what you?
Sure, go right ahead.
you know, it's
Mine
really
was-
just a formality, but would you be okay with signing a form that says that we could use what you've said to us
Sure.
and,
I have
If
no
you
problem
want
with
these
that.
in a certain place to,
just
Photograph
wherever,
them?
you know, maybe what I'll do is, rotate it so some of that light coming in from that side window, will get on there. I think,
Okay.
yeah, that really helps a lot.
Okay.
That's how I
I'm
felt.
gonna go get a brush one.
You, Blake, have the better pen.
Don't you hate that?
That's all I'm good for.
And so we've got the one form that is about your sharing the way we've recorded this. And I think Blake is going to want to write his name in that slot right there.
Right, you're on the second page only on that form.
I'm only on the second page?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
well. School of Architecture and Urban Planning.
Yeah, our professor put together this project where we're studying the neighborhood, the people, the houses, the whole kind of depth and texture to understand.
Well, you know, I guess I've been here about 3.5 years or so, and you know, people look at me. I'm out here at 2 a.m. walking the neighborhood. They're like, "You're nuts. You live in the middle of a hood. There's shooting. You don't have to. If you first pay attention to your surroundings, you can go anywhere you want, and you don't look down at your feet all the time like, oh, I'm going to be a victim. You walk with confidence, and you. But I also talk with every neighbor that we have. I mean, people know me for blocks around. That black Stetson is well known in the neighborhood. And it's my nickname is Cowboy because there was 5 Michaels here at one time. I said, okay, just back to Cowboy. And
Did you bring that look with you from Florida?
pardon me?
You bring that look with you?
No,
From Florida?
no, I had that since I was about that high. My daddy was a strange person. He would bring home
If you
horses
could,
and-
you have to have the lights.
I'm gonna see, Mike, if this one will turn off the fan, it would improve the sound.
let's see, that's
Oh, that's
that's
The
a
other
light.
one,
You have to be pretty tall to reach the other one, don't you?
Glenn?
Yeah, my dad would bring home horses that
Oh,
If
here.
it's
Nobody
okay
would
with
want,
you, I'll
he'd
sit
go,
on this chair.
"Boy,
Would that be okay?
ride it."
Oh,
Try
I
that
see
one.
this chair. Right.
And it
Where
will
in
need
Florida was
at
that?
least 2
Huh?
poles.
Where was that?
No, this is northern
Oh,
Wisconsin.
this is Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'm actually out of
Okay.
I'm out of a little town up in Florence County. Up on the Wisconsin-Michigan border.
Maybe that's what slow
Try
looks
once
like.
more. If it goes real fast, no,
There we go.
now that's off.
And I'll turn that back on for you before I leave.
To get the pictures.
The brochure for Miracle House.
Nice pen, by the way.
And then this one is about participating in the project itself. A person who
And house
participates in
2
this
and
project
3.
just has to be able to be
And the
informed about
new
that.
place. For you to take
Oh,
along.
thank you. Did you put these together?
Pardon me?
Did you put these together? Compile the information?
So it's not a scientific study per se, but just like a scientific study, the university has to have people agree to be part of it. Looks like this might be our first really warm day in a while, huh?
Really nice day out there. I love it. What is today, the 16th?
17.
17th. There you are, sir.
Great, thanks.
I'm gonna hold on to these
Yeah, I think
brochures
we met your
with those.
professor last
Oh, you're letting us have these?
Yeah.
River? Okay, here's your pen, Blake. Wonderful.
Actually, I needed a couple of those too.
Yes, I
have to
will
remember
get
that.
at making some more for you.
Okay. Okay, so I'll photograph the words here.
Let me move away. Yeah, it's well, like I said, my philosophy is we do it one house at a time, one person at a time. You can't change the world all at once, but
One person at a time and one
but
house
we
at a
have
time.
like the neighbors next door. Think, we're the greatest thing since white bread.
The greatest things
We're
in the-
assets to, and I mean, my guys will be out cutting our lawns. They cut Cher's next door here because her husband's taking care of his grandmother and he's not home to do it, so they're cutting the grass here. They cut the grass next door just because it makes all the yards look nice and even. But Keith will come out, and when it's the snow is that high, he's out with his snow blower blowing out the alleys and cleaning up and helping us, and he just all the way down the line. It's been since the people with the habitat houses. I don't think I don't know any of them. But coming out and talking and getting to know them, and they're like, oh yeah, well, hey, I'm gonna be gone. Watch my, or can you come over and put security lights up in the back of my house for me? Or say, sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take anything.
That's that kitchen that had the dark green and black.
Oh. Garfield house.
It took 3 coats of paint to cover it.
That was just hideous.
Should I also take
Sure.
that one?
Yeah, that was the first one.
I can carry it. Yeah. Take
That was Miracle House and this house. And just look what an eyesore that was. And even the siding on my house was just rotting away.
Do you mind if I take a couple of pictures around the common spaces here, like the living room
Sure.
and the dining room too? We'll just
And will you want to take something outside,
Yeah.
our landscaping,
Oh,
our
love to get the
gardens?
garden.
definitely walk around in the front and the back. Is
You
there
done
is there
with
an
these
animal?
then?
Yes.
A dog or a massive cat?
A massive dog. My little girl.
Where otherwise you have her. In
Otherwise, she's upstairs with me, or if I'm on the job, she's at the other building. But I had an appointment early this morning, so I left her upstairs. Otherwise, she would have been in bed with him.
Is this how you pull the chains?
That must be. I don't know who thought of it, but
If it works, it works.
had to be one of the boys. Yeah, the side of the yard looks very nice on Garfield.
What
I
does?
said the side yard looks really nice on the alley side and that, where you cleaned up the weeds and
Oh,
looks good.
and planted those hostas that somebody gave to.
We still got hostas in the garage too.
There's
yeah.
one out there yet. I have to.
He's taking
Find a
pictures.
place
I'm
for
gonna
it.
slide out of the way. All right, I'm gonna go up and get changed. You have something?
Can you bring the air conditioner down?
Remember, you gotta get it so it's a steady one. Yeah, we could head outside. Okay.
What?
Yeah, we could head outside. You were gonna show
Okay.
us the exterior.
So when and how will we see the finished product, what you do with this?
We're gonna have several things. First of all, there will be a website, and each page of the website is going to have a story like this story. And so there'll be a web page that'll be what we put together about meeting you and the property, and then there's also going to be an exhibit at the Washington Park Partners on July 25th.
July 25th.
And then
That's quick.
And then there's also they're going to work us pretty hard between now and then. and then there's also going to be a document that we'll put together. Let's see. For folks whom we met like a week ago, and we got in and we measured their houses and created an architectural drawing of it, kind of put it together from the house first kind of perspective. We put together a sheet. I guess we won't be doing that for you, but you know what? I'm going to make myself a note, to make sure that we follow up and let you know, like, about that exhibit at the very least, so that you can come and see what we put together.
Okay. And I need to call the lady we met last night on, what is it called, Making a Home for Prisoners?
Yeah.
That's another study or something through UWM. So have her come out and see what we're doing here.
Making it a family a family thing. So.
Do you remember what school in the university? Was she with the social work department, or was that with this project?
Well, I think that's through UWM too.
Sure.
Well, it's UWM, but they have different departments.
Okay.
You got the paperwork downstairs. You have.
Yeah.
Oh, they gave you some paperwork about that?
Right.
Yeah.
We were just curious that it wasn't the our professor with the architecture school.
No.
No, he was there last night also.
Oh, you were at the safety meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He and some other gentleman from
The guy from New York was.
wherever he came.
Oh, the older fellow from Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
So I don't know if our professor Regit Sen mentioned that he's going to have all of the classes that he teaches over the next few years focus on Washington Park neighborhood.
Okay.
He's been working on this kind of model of how to teach and learn about a place and the people and the culture that results. He's been working on that for some years now, and I think he's concluded that this is a perfect neighborhood to stop and spend some time and let it
It's quite a unique
unfold.
neighborhood. I mean, Washington Park itself that was Milwaukee's original zoo out there.
Yeah.
And this whole area was, very affluent at one time. Sherman Boulevard was.
And the upper class Germans, I guess, lived in this neighborhood when they moved,
Right.
and whether they worked at the brewery, wherever they worked, because the houses, most of them with living rooms and dining rooms, and some of the original woodwork. Miracle House has the original woodwork in the dining room, or the first floor yet. Nice woodwork. This house had a fire in it some years ago before I had it. Somebody fell asleep smoking on the couch that was here, and so that's why this is redone. This end is redone.
But
It was
it's-
poorly redone, and I ended up doing a lot of moldings and stuff up here.
But it was a very, like I said, influential neighborhood at one time. And these houses were built. I would not want to live in the Habitat house next door compared to this one. This one is built a heck of a lot better than that thing ever thought of being. And I watched them put it up, and I'm seeing the problems they're having now a year later because of the quickness of there's things that could have been, should have been done that they weren't done.
You know, perhaps I should follow you, and I'll turn the fan back on as we walk out. We can have you can walk.
No need.
Thanks. Here, I'll get the light so you guys know.
So these stairs are original? I'm assuming,
Yeah.
and all
I want to mention this. This was made by someone in California who is a brother to a lady who lives in Wausau. She was a client of mine, and she gave it to me, and she says, well, maybe you can make use of this in your house. I really don't have any place for it. It ended up
it
here.
works, yeah.
So our gardens are flourishing.
Did they have a rough winter?
The garden?
Oh yeah.
Well, that's all new plantings
Oh, okay.
this year.
It smells so good out here.
So, are there any examples of the gardening you said that were behind the houses? Could
This
you
is
see any of that?
standing
from
them right here.
This is
And
a-
these are, but these
These
are
are all
not
garden
community
boxes.
access. This is your.
Yeah, for us,
Yeah,
for our
this is ours.
tenants.
Actually, ours, the neighbors, we share with.
Okay, so everyone's pitching in.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then we got more behind alongside the garage. We
garage.
have some more over here next to the gray house. What's that?
That's great. This is your green space.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get the trimmer back from Billy? The lopper? Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably in my car.
Oh.
Because I took it down to
I
garden.
gotta trim that tree down. I can't walk under the branches no more. It's starting to.
You keep walking and your hat stuck.
Oh, well, this morning I walked out here at about 2:30 in the morning, and it was raining on the tree. It was like getting hit with a sloppy wet rag in the face.
Mhm.
Yeah, the thunder kept me up for a little while.
That storm was
Well, it's
loud.
about 2 bit jumped on top of me when that first bang hit. She just, it's like, what are you doing, dog? Get it. Then I could hear the lightning and the, like, okay, just lay down. So she went on the foot of the bed again. But she's 50 pounds. It's not what you want jumping on you in the middle of the night.
I have Great Pyrenees, and they are, when they get excited, you're
I've-
getting knocked over.
Well, I was showing Pyrenees,
Yep.
and Ben was about 200 pounds of fluff, and
Just fluffy,
Big.
crazy, yeah.
unfortunately I had to put him down. He attacked one of my dogs, an older collie I had, and then he growled at the kids. I said,
It's a shame.
this is not good. And then he kept me in my truck when he looked like Cujo. He wouldn't let me out of my truck for an hour and a half. He had climbed out over the top of his kennel. I was like, this isn't Ben. So I took him up to the vet and I said, okay, we're gonna have to, put him down. And the vet put him down and did an autopsy, and he had a brain tumor that was putting pressure on him, and he turned.
Making them aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah, when he grabbed Lukey was 15, and I think Ben was like 3. Lukey basically raised him from a puppy, and here he just ripped him apart. So that's what we have to get.
What?
A basketball hoop.
Oh, yeah. The two guys upstairs like to play basketball.
Matt, would you want us to go over by the garage right there? With the garden over there as well?
Oh, how far
Well,
away?
that's not looking as nice as mine.
That
Mi-
is
mine
part
got
of
in
your
first.
place though, correct? That's what you got for the $1 and then the filing fees?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a house back there.
We could just go out that way.
Absolutely. I've gotten shots of the front. It would actually be a great photograph for us to have the both of you up front. If I could take just a photograph of that.
Okay.
Wonderful. I'll meet you up there because I'll get a shot from back here of the house without you in it, and then so I'll be right up there.
Okay.
So you walk around holding the mic, huh?
For today. We share duties.
That's nice. Yeah, that came up 2 years ago from nowhere. You haven't figured out where the heck the roses came from.
It's not such a bad thing to pop up.
No. Mailman was here.
Yeah, how would you like to be? You could be just casual like that, or you could be more formal, or you could sit.
You tell us how you would like it.
It's up to you.
Why don't you just stand a little closer to each other? Yeah, this is going to be a great photograph.
There you go. There's that couple in here.
Okay, so let's see. You ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
All
Thanks.
done?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we better head on we've got a couple things we have to do, and then we have another interview this afternoon.
Okay.
But thank you so much for your time. It's been
Yes,
really
thank
great meeting
Thank
you
you.
both.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story.
Well, come on back and you'll see when we're done with the rest of the projects.
I will follow up and let you know how, when that exhibit is. I'll give you a reminder on that.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
last year they were doing a documentary that was kind of.
It was supposed to be entered in the Milwaukee Film Festival, but the guy didn't have it done. And what was his name? Like a
Jones,
George
George
Jones. His name is.
Never finished it off, and it kind of.
Well, I guess you're trying for this year.
Well, hopefully we'll be less flaky about our projects, and you'll get a chance to see something.
Good.
Did you use email, or should I just call and give you a reminder of when that is?
Call me, but you can email him.
M.H. Grimmer.
So, how do you spell the Grimmer part?
Grimmer. Like things are looking.
But they're not looking grimmer.
You remember it, won't you?
That's true. Yeah. M.H.
Grimmer
Grimmer.
at gmail.com.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Same here.
Yeah.
If you, so do you feel comfortable with how the interview went? Was everything good for you? Good. So if there's anything that comes up later, you have contact information for us, or did you?
I have your phone number.
Okay,
But,
good. Good.
I think we covered all the ground.
Yeah, I just want you to, be able to follow up, or if you had any questions, and like I said, I'll make sure to get in touch with you both again.
Okay.
Okay. Well, great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Have a great day.
You too.
We could break down the audio back here in the trunk if you want. Got to take this